Dawn Stensland Show on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Live and local, and here with my better half, Larry Menti. I'm Dawn Stensland. So, hey, Larry.
I know. I'm not even next to you anymore. They separated us.
They separated us.
It must have been the funny stuff going on that they wanted to pull us apart.
We're like those little boxes.
You couldn't keep your hands off me when I was in that same studio. That's the problem.
So we're talking about a lot that's going on. This, by the way, this is our first time that we've been together live on youtube.com at WPHT. So this is our debut, Lair, together.
Oh, really? So I love the upgrade on the cameras.
Yeah.
This is pretty
You've been
impressive.
doing a good job.
Can you see a monitor right now?
I can.
And how do I look?
Beautiful.
Okay, now I know. That means there's a problem.
You look great. I promise you look great. Let's jump into it.
Okay.
Let's talk about, first of all, Jersey Shore. I mean, today, look at what's happening at the Jersey Shore. Beautiful day in the 80s, and we're all dreaming of, counting down to summer at the Jersey Shore. You and I do. Every time we go over the bridge, which is relatively newly redone, and
the causeway in the Ocean
Causeway,
City.
and I say to you, what do I say to you? Can we stop at Circle Liquor? I say, I still get the butterflies going across the bridge. The first time, I just love it.
Before we stop at Circle Liquor.
That's a sin. I shouldn't have said that.
That is the second most popular and profitable liquor store in the country.
I want to recount. I think it's number one.
Yeah, no, I think there's one in New York City that's number one, but maybe it is now. That was years ago. I'm doing some numbers from years ago. You might be right, but it is amazing that everybody stops at Circle Liquor because Ocean City's a dry town.
Yeah,
so everybody has to load up.
Yeah, where there's a will, there's a way
to be able to deal with the kids.
So when we think about the Jersey Shore and this issue that you've been covering for years with our friend Cindy Ziff, who's the voice of the ocean. And she's been pretty consistent, as you have reported for years, on her environmental stances. But you look at what's happening with the whales washing up dead, with the dolphins washing up dead, those 8 that washed up, and then they tried to save them. Heartbreaking situation about a month ago. And then how it's being reported, but as well with these wind turbine projects, they're continuing.
Yeah,
over.
There's too much money involved. It was billions of dollars to just get the leases, and so it's billions of dollars to construct this. But not only that, Ørsted, the Dutch company that has 2 of the wind farm leases in a pretty huge area, especially the one right off of southern New Jersey, also has a plant that they're building in Pennsbury on an old. A plant that was a Superfund site, and nobody thought was going to build on it again, and they came in to build on it. I remember talking to Steve Sweeney before he left office, the Senate president.
Before he was beaten by trucker Ed Durr.
Right, I know. Yeah, who saw that coming? But he was ecstatic about that coming into Pennsbury, and he told me at the time, this isn't the only one. They promised they're going to put other factories as well. So for the state of New Jersey, this is tax money, it's union jobs. I mean, it's a big deal for them. And the leases are a big deal, plus all the federal money they're getting. Mm-hmm. So this is a train that's almost impossible to stop. But I'm glad you brought up Cindy Ziff, because she was trying to stop this before it ever happened. And she warned that whales and dolphins are going to die. And she warned that you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Once this happens, once you industrialize the ocean, once you pave the ocean floor and run cables across it, it's very difficult not only to restore it if you ever want to do that, but of course all the lives that are lost, and you might lose entire endangered species. And one last thing about this. The NOAA has completely lied throughout this entire thing. They knew that whales were going to die. They knew that dolphins were going to die. And I encourage everybody to go on site and look up authorized incidental, I was going to say kills, but they don't put it down as kills.
Takes.
Yeah, that's it. Very good. Authorized incidental take. And if you hunt, you know what an incidental take is. An incidental take is something, an endangered species that you shoot by accident. And every one of the companies had to bring in a list of and negotiate about what they were going to take and what they were going to kill. You should see these lists. Thousands of dolphins, dozens of whales that were acceptable to NOAA, so they knew. So the idea that now they're coming out and saying that, well, we didn't know this was going to happen. Plus, there's no evidence that the windmills. No, they knew ahead of time that the windmills could do this, and they allowed it. And the reason that it's important that they do it ahead of time is because it's prosecutable. It's a criminal act.
Do they have birds in there too?
No, they don't. I didn't see it on the list. This was all sea life because it's NOAA, but they do atmospheric too. It should have birds because you brought up a great point. Go ahead. I never thought of this.
So, well, on Jersey Matters, which you hosted and anchored, that you won many Emmys for doing that, and in my reports, one of them that Bob McGowan would say, well, make sure that you report on Cape May.
Yeah, Bob McGowan owned the station.
Right?
Yeah.
And so he'd say, and he loves history, so I was covering all the great history of the region and so on. So it's a sin that I missed that show, and I know you do too, and so many of you have been telling me that, so I just want to mention it. But every year I would cover in Cape May, New Jersey. It's an international site because of the flight path of Cape May.
The migration of the birds.
Yeah, the migratory path that is Cape May, New Jersey. It's incredible. And then we had taken the kids to the lighthouse there, right by the Sisters of St. Joseph house, the center for the nuns there. So anyway, the women's center. And that's one of the places where you can actually watch all these birds. It's awesome.
Right.
And beautiful. But you have people from around the world, and it's packed. And they're coming literally from, they're flying in for this.
Yeah.
And I said to you, Larry, wait until the bird people get a hold of this one. And now these whoosh, 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 think of these wind turbines, huge, slicing up those birds. Wait till that one happens.
Right, which has happened in the past. This isn't new. That was what everybody complained about when you had the wind turbines on land. Nobody thought about the whales and the dolphins. And by the way, you want to talk about migratory animals, the sea turtles are going to start pretty soon laying eggs and coming up on shore. I wonder how it's going to affect them. This is going to go down in 10 years or so as the biggest debacle in history because there's nothing good about this stuff. Wait till the people start getting their bills. It is 2 to 3 times more expensive to deliver this energy from the wind turbines. And so wait till people get their electric bills along the Jersey Shore. But Dawn, there's so many things bad about this, and I don't see anything good about it except that it's a political move. It raises a lot of money. It brings in a lot of money for the state of New Jersey and for other states, and it's a political move because there's climate change zealots that will vote just because of this. Mm-hmm. But seriously, one of the things that most people love about the Jersey Shore is getting up and looking at the sunrise. Or looking at the ocean, or sitting on the beach and looking out seemingly endlessly into the horizon. That's going to be ruined. You can see these things. Yeah. They're not that far away.
100%. Which brings me to another question. And as you know, Larry, I never was one of these conspiracy theorists until working here for this many years at PhD. And now I am. But you look at the headline that caught both of our attention. This was a couple days ago. It was Bloomberg, among others, reporting this as far as, President Biden's green energy plans. Do they pose a national security risk? And this warning came out of nowhere from the Pentagon.
Right.
And the number one state, they don't list New Jersey, by the way. You got a call. Somebody's got a call. That's all right. The number one place, the Department of Defense, Pentagon, DOD said, Delaware. Huh. Number one. And I just thought to myself, is there really a national security risk? and they just thought of this? Or is a certain important someone who, loves his beach house and his beach view in the state of Delaware concerned about the view?
Yeah, I think you're onto something. Normally, as you know, I roll my eyes at some of your conspiracy theories. But this one, I think you've got something. No, seriously, because the state that would be the most affected, of course, is Virginia, where they have submarines and they have a naval base, right? Unlike Philadelphia's, which closed up, they have a naval base in Norfolk. And so because of that, that would be the state that you'd go, oh, my God, you can't put wind turbines there. But Delaware, and if you'll remember, the only wind farm that was stopped was off a rich area of Massachusetts, because all of those donors called up the Biden administration and called up the senators and said, are you kidding me? What do I pay you for? What do I buy you for? I give you all this money and you're going to put wind turbines out? So that one was stopped. That one they didn't do. Everybody else got one, except maybe now. I think you're onto something. I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. I think that's logical.
But what struck me was, because I was looking up all these reports back in 2019-ish, the Pentagon had said that the East Coast, entire East Coast, was, quote, highly problematic for leasing and had set forth exclusion zones. Okay, the entire East Coast. Now, all of a sudden, they're not mentioning New Jersey as a problem, but they are mentioning Delaware, Virginia, Maryland, that area.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm with you on this one. But you started off with something that I just want to go back to for 1 second. You talked about the fact that we're coming up on summer and what it's going to be like. We were down the shore, and I won't mention names. We talked to some people that said, look, they normally do some business in the winter, but this has been dead. It's been dead this winter, like they've never seen before. You have to believe that's because nobody wants to be down the shore when whales going to come up on shore or when some dolphins come up on shore. Yeah. Imagine what's going to happen this summer. This summer, when the Jersey Shore depends on all that money, this might be, the Rubicon they pass. I mean, if kids are playing in the water and a dead dolphin is amongst them,
like happened in Sea Isle. And that was it was about a little less than a month ago, when the 8 dolphins came ashore. 2 were dead, 6 were still alive. And people were in the water and they were touching them and trying to get water to them and trying to save them. And then they all died.
I read those NOAA reports where I was just talking about a second ago with the incidental takes. I read those NOAA reports, and the biggest problem right now has to do with the sonar and the noise that this makes.
Is it the sonar or the noise?
Both of them.
That it's like unbearable?
Two different things, but they both of them is what bothers these animals so much. And if you remember, we were both there and talked to the same gentleman who owns a business down the Jersey Shore. And he was there. He went to see these dolphins as they tried to save them, and they had to euthanize most of them. And the other ones died on their own, but they had to euthanize most of them. And it was chilling what he said. Because he'd lived down the Jersey Shore all his life. He said they whatever was happening in that ocean was so bad that they stranded themselves to get away from it. Yeah. That they came up on shore knowing they're smart. They know that this area is some area they normally wouldn't swim. They did it to get away from that sound. So it's almost like, death by beach. It's them going up to give themselves up to get away from what was awful in the water. This is going to change migration patterns forever. It's going to change fishing down the Jersey Shore. There is nothing at all I can point at that's good about this. And, the last thing is there's a report out that the activity, because of all the cables, the electric cables that are underwater, and because of the way that the turbines work, it will actually raise the temperature of the ocean and raise the temperature of the atmosphere around the ocean, and could actually contribute to climate change problems.
And that makes me think of one of my fears, because if it's warmer water, dun, 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 the sharks come in.
The sharks probably are smart too. They're probably going to stay away from it. Their food's going to be gone. Their food's not going to want to be around it as well. So there you've thought of the one good thing. Maybe less sharks.
All right, let's take a quick break. Larry Menti is here. We're live. We're local. And yes, we're on YouTube. You can go to YouTube, and then it's at PHT. You can punch in that. So we'll talk about the other issues of the day, get into a little. Can we get into Matt Taibbi?
Absolutely.
All right.
I love Matt Taibbi.
And he'll tell you why. It's all just ahead.
WPHT is live and local all day long. Start your day with Kale and Company at 6 a.m.
Developing now. Hi, you're live and local. This is WPHT. I'm Dawn Stenslin. Larry Menti, my hubby, is here. And by the way, we're making our YouTube debut. So it's youtube.com and then just punch in at WPHT. You know, there is a controversy that's brewing right now on an issue that I think has been percolating for quite some time. And I know Larry and I talk about this all the time at home. But top House Democrat Stacey Plaskett is facing really intense backlash right now. She was threatening jail time against independent journalist and award-winning New York Times bestseller Matt Taibbi, who used to be a darling in the so-called mainstream media, until now. But this is having to do with his testimony fairly recently about the Twitter files. That was last month's congressional hearing. And so now, man, is the backlash happening because she's saying, this guy deserves to go to jail, and feeling threatened about this. And I guess MSNBC had then carried on that whole situation. But Larry, can you take us through what's been going on with your take with, Matt Taibbi? You've talked a lot about MSNBC's Mehdi Hasan and that hit job he did.
Right. First of all, Mehdi Hasan, it turns out, got a lot of his attacks, the information for a lot of his attacks on Matt Taibbi wrong. And one of the ones he got wrong is the one that they're now threatening him with jail time for. So they're now threatening him with jail time for an erroneous thing that wasn't erroneous.
Unbelievable.
So they just believed whatever Mehdi Hasan said without checking it themselves. So they look like idiots. It has to do with the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency, security agency. It's called CISA. And so what Mehdi Hasan, because he had nothing on him. Mehdi Hasan had nothing on him. He's just an attack dog. And as you said, he sounds like a chihuahua. He just keeps yapping, and he keeps talking over Matt Taibbi. Matt Taibbi is one of the greatest journalists of our time. And Matt Taibbi is awful on TV. He wants to be on TV so badly. He's awful.
We don't know if he wants to be on TV.
Oh, he does want to be on TV.
He just wants
know that for a fact.
How do you know that for a fact?
From Bill Carey.
Why? Okay.
Bill Carey is a TV executive.
Do you have his approval to be...
No, I just know that he wants to be on TV. He's been trying to get on TV for a long time, but he's awful at it. He stutters. He doesn't think fast enough on his feet. He's brilliant. Don't get me wrong. The guy is brilliant. He is one of the... I think I'm a pretty good writer. This guy is the best writer I've ever written.
By the way, his little lisps thing that he has, it's really quite sexy. I think he's great. And I think that it makes him, to me, the fact that he's not this TV guy, this slick talker, to me, he's more authentic because of that, ultimately.
He's hard to listen to, is what you're saying, right?
No, he's not.
He is hard to listen to.
He's not.
He's wonderful to read. Why don't you give the man his due? He's tremendous to read. He's a wonderful writer.
I can disagree with you. I think he's cute, and I think the way he speaks is sexy.
You think he's cute?
I do.
Those little tiny hairs sticking out of the
Stop!
No, then why am I you're putting me in a position where I'm now making fun of Matt Taibbi, who
that's not nice.
I idolize. I think he's a wonderful writer. His writing,
I think my perspective probably matters to Matt more than yours on the looks.
Oh, absolutely.
Department. Okay.
Oh, but no, you had to do that.
Sorry.
Maybe not. We don't know. We don't know how Matt Taibbi identifies.
Well,
he might be more.
Okay, Larry.
You're saying even if he was gay, no, Larry, you're still not doing it for him. Okay, I got it. I agree with you, too. I agree with you. But let's get back to the issue.
Yes.
So this is what Mehdi Hasan did to him. He took little things that he believed he got wrong. So the cybersecurity security agency is called CISA. There's an A at the end. He said he mixed it up with another agency, which is CIS, and that he shouldn't have put the A on. Mm-hmm. Remember, and Matt Taibbi said, well, if I did that, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. That's what he said during the interview.
Because he's a humble, normal human being who would say, oh, if I got that wrong, I'm sorry. Because that's what a normal person would do.
Turns out he got it right. It turns out that was completely wrong, that he did have the correct agency, which, by the way, Matt Taibbi, when he does a story, calls about 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And so for him to get something wrong is really a head scratcher. So Mehdi Hassan just got that wrong. But when you have somebody from Congress threatening him to arrest him on that, don't you think that person, what they want to do to make, just so everybody knows, they want him to correct the record because he testified before Congress. They want him to correct it and say it wasn't CISA when it was. They want him to correct that, and they said if you don't, that is punishable with jail time. So they threatened him to come in and do it. But let's step back and look at this for a second. This is what is completely wrong with our society. It's everything that's wrong with us, is that when there is a wrong, it doesn't matter. Right and wrong doesn't matter anymore. It depends who gets hurt and who benefits by the right and wrong.
Well put.
And when that right and wrong happens, there are two sides that will fight each other regardless who's right, because they know as long as they can muddy the water a little bit, their side is going to believe that, and it benefits them politically. And so with this, they attacked Matt Taibbi, who they, as you pointed out, they once loved because he went after Wall Street. Mm-hmm. They used to love him, and now they hate him. So all of a sudden, he's a horrible reporter. All of a sudden, he gets things wrong. All of a sudden, he's a vile person that wants to be attacked. This hero that, by the way, is just a truth teller and never has been kind to Republicans. What's that line he said about Ted Cruz? He looks like an old Reagan mask that somebody tried to staple together. He's been awful to Republicans. He's a tremendous writer, though.
Yes.
I mean, even when he insults you, I go, oh, that was pretty good.
Yes.
That was pretty good. But the fact that the truth doesn't matter anymore, that's in our political divide, that has been the greatest victim. Is the truth.
Yeah.
And that's why I admire Matt Taibbi. He went after the truth regardless of his political leaning. He went after the truth. And so, but this woman who shouldn't even be on the committee because she's from the Virgin Islands and can't even vote is now attacking him.
Stacey Plaskett.
Yeah, and saying he's going to send him to jail. It's ridiculous.
She says he should go to jail for 5 years.
Yeah.
If you can imagine that.
By the way, Matt Taibbi writes for Substack, which is where all the gonzo independent journalists write. And I love Substack, and I love reading them. And they're all defending Matt Taibbi, and they're attacking Mehdi Hassan. And he stepped into the wrong pool of pythons because they're going to eat him alive. Li Fang, who is another great independent journalist, is already after him and caught him plagiarizing. So I'm going to do the countdown on Mehdi Hassan's career as all of these people start writing about him. I'm not kidding. I'm serious.
Because these articles are coming out about Mehdi Hassan, who I called kind of a mad chihuahua because I love dogs and I love chihuahuas, but he's like a mad chihuahua man. But Li Fang had tweeted out Mehdi's viral deception that Taibbi lied under oath about DHS. CISA now has House Dems explicitly threatening Taibbi with imprisonment. Taibbi was accurate in this quote, yet here's a letter from Representative Plaskett citing Mehdi to float a threat of 5 years of jail against Taibbi. So this has gone viral, and I know it's a little bit of inside baseball for a lot of people if you're not following it. But I think it's important to follow because it really exposes media bias at its core, because Taibbi is somebody who was viewed as, because of his investigations into Wall Street, he was viewed by Democrats and liberal media, so-called mainstream media, as on their side.
Yeah,
but
I agree with you.
Right,
that we're getting a little bit too far in the weeds. I got people's eyes are
like,
rolling
what are they
over.
Talking about?
And you got me started. I'm like Rain Man with this stuff. Matt Taibbi. Yep, definitely Matt Taibbi.
But it ultimately exposes what I'm trying to big picture here is it exposes bias in the media, and when somebody gets out of line when they've been in that lane and they were viewed as, okay, you're on our side, meaning the Dems, and all of a sudden they go outside that lane, well, this is what's good. They're being threatened with jail time, or the IRS suddenly, coincidentally, shows up on their doorstep.
They are they're messing with the wrong bunch of people.
Yeah.
I'm warning you that there's going to be some horrible, horrible articles about MSNBC, about this congresswoman, about Mehdi Hassan. These are people that are extremely talented with tremendous resources that are going to destroy these people.
By working hard to expose the truth about these people and how scummy they are deep down.
Taibbi already said he's going to do a series of reports on MSNBC after he's finished with the Twitter files. So I would not want Matt Taibbi after me.
Me either. But that's why I said he's cute with the lisp.
Yeah, I can't.
A little way he speaks. All right, moving ahead, we want to talk about a couple of things because there's a lot of Biden news and Hunter Biden news, and we're hearing all these different sources and the whistleblower and who's saying what, and it's kind of confusing because they're different stories. So we'll nail that down a little bit.
Good, because I have to get out of here. Dom wants this room.
Well, that's his normal. That's the studio. That's the Dom. They don't let me in there because I'm a girl, and I guess you're married to me. So that's the boys' club
That's
private
not true.
studio.
I'm a squatter. How long do I have to stay here before I have squatter rights to this studio?
In Philadelphia, it's 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
I should refuse to move. That would be good radio. Leave the mic on and I'll refuse to move.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Dom and Larry fight on air.
Oh, that's right. It'll be video. We have to do that.
Pay-per-view.
We have to do that. Place your bets right now. Sports books have already taken odds.
All right. Well, you move studios. You come in, shack up with me. And let me talk about Piazza, because Larry and I love Piazza. We love Piazza here. It's a great time of year to find that new or certified pre-owned vehicle from my dear friends who, seriously, the Piazza Auto Group, they are such